give you a briefing about the institution?
All I know is it's a mental hospital.
For the criminally insane.
Gentlemen, welcome to Shutter Island. You're hereby required to surrender your firearms.
We are duly appointed federal marshals.
But during your stay, you will obey protocol. Is that understood? We take only the most dangerous, damaged patients, ones no other hospital can manage.
From Boston University Center for Digital Imaging Arts, it's the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
In this week's episode, we're reviewing Martin Scorcese's new thriller, Shutter Island, and the Luc Besson-produced actioner, District 13, Ultimatum. We'll also take a look at some of the new DVDs coming out in the next couple of weeks. And as always, if you have any questions for us, any comments, we'd like to hear from you. So send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to check out our website at postmovie.wordpress.com. Also, check us out on Facebook. You could go ahead and search for Post Movie Podcast on Facebook, and our page should come up. And if you check out our website this week, we have an interview clip with Jeremy Renner, star of The Hurt Locker, as he was interviewed at the Boston Society of Film Critics 2009 award ceremony. He talks about his work on Ben Affleck's The Town, so check that out.
I did a movie called The Town here in Boston, so that'll come out this fall. Ben Affleck directed, local boy, and that should be good. Can't wait to see it.
We're all excited to see that too. Especially since it was shot here. You had fun when you were in Boston, and
yeah, we robbed everything. We stole everything.
Any favorite parts of town that you enjoyed particularly when you were?
I like robbing the North End. That was fun. Nun outfits. That was a good one. And then we had a cop, a nun, a skeleton. We were a lot of things. It's good movies, good fun. Anyway, I don't know if it's a good movie, but I had a lot of fun. But I had a towny haircut. You guys know what towny haircut is, right? Really not so pleasant looking at me. It's just growing out.
Time now to take a look at what's new on DVD for the week of Tuesday, February 23rd.
What I'm about to tell you, it involves something very large.
Everyone in this country is a victim of corporate crime by the time they finish breakfast.
Yes. Things are going on I don't approve of. I mean, I feel real bad about that. Corn goes in one end and profit comes out the other. Weird, right? It's not just lysine, it's citric, it's gluconate. There was a guy who left the company because he wouldn't do it. He was forced out. The gluconate guy, he's out of a job.
Would you be willing to wear a wire? We need your help.
7:30 a.m. I am approaching the entrance to the office. Good morning, Liz Taylor, secretary.
You don't really need to narrate the tapes for us when you're making them.
Just not a problem.
You just heard a clip from Steven Soderbergh's The Informant, starring Matt Damon, which was the movie that he actually should have been nominated for this year.
Oh, yeah.
I do agree with Brett on that one. The DVD for The Informant offers, it's not much, it offers deleted scenes. However, for a couple extra dollars, the Blu-ray offers a commentary track by Soderbergh and his screenwriter Scott Z. Burns. Also on DVD is Richard Kelly's The Box, which I liked, which they filmed at the Chicago Public Library. Best scenes.
Was it Boston Public Library? Not Chicago.
Boston. Oh, did I say Chicago?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I meant
your
Boston.
head's in the clouds.
Chicago.
Critics seem to line up to shoot this one out of the water as soon as they saw it, and it was fine. It was a decent enough thriller. Frank Langella looked cool with half his face rotting away. Cameron Diaz and
James
Cyclops,
yeah.
They were fine.
I think people were critical of it because it wasn't as streamlined as they had hoped. It got like nutty complicated narrative towards the end, which was
nutty complicated.
The scenes in the library were, I thought, just cool.
I know.
Just cool.
You go into Boston Public Library now, you go, this is where they shot The Box. It's not where the homeless go to bathe in the bathroom.
That's where the weird guy who did the filing follows them.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a better representation of the library.
So I think for The Box, it's a situation where the DVD offers standard featurette. This is a featurette on Richard Matheson, who wrote the original Twilight Zone. I think it was a Twilight Zone episode.
But he also wrote, isn't he the guy who wrote the story that became the Omega Man in the Will Smith remake? You know what I'm trying to say.
Legend.
I Am Legend. He wrote I Am Legend. and he wrote a couple other classics. I'm not sure what they were, but he's a pretty well-known and pretty damn good writer.
Didn't he write the Kick the Can episode for the Twilights? I could be wrong. The one that Steven Spielberg did for the Twilight Zone. Anyway, there's a featurette entitled Richard Matheson in his own words. And on the Blu-ray, there's a commentary by Richard Kelly and 3 additional making-of featurettes. And next up on DVD is a movie I haven't seen, which is The Damned United, one of John's top 10 movies for 2009. It offers a commentary track by Tom Hooper and star Michael Sheen, in addition to a number of featurettes, and John digged it.
Yeah, the thing is with this, you can look at, I'm sure you look at the cover and you say, I don't know these guys, I don't know anything about English soccer, why would I watch it? It's a great story, it's great acting. You end up learning something about soccer. It's not the worst way to spend 2 hours.
And Michael Sheen is somebody he's one of those actors that gets to a point for me that I will just go see the movie that he's in, because something about it says that he's doing something good. There's something, I don't know, quality about what he's doing. But I'm not including New Moon.
Well, I was going to say, do you forgive him for that? He needs a paycheck. Things like Damn United and some of the other stuff he does, they're not making money for him, so he needs a paycheck. If he wants to comb his hair back like a vampire in New Moon, that's fine. Make some money while you can, dude. No one's paying you to be Tony Blair anymore, so just make the money.
That's good.
Also coming to DVD and Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection is Leo McCarey's Make Way for Tomorrow. Criterion describes it as one of the great unsung Hollywood masterpieces and an inspiration for Uzo's Tokyo Story. The DVD includes a new video interview with Peter Bogdanovich discussing McCarey's career, as well as a new video interview with critic Gary Giddens, in which he discusses the social context of the film. Other new titles this week are the Robert De Niro, Sam Rockwell flick Everybody's Fine, a re-release of George Romero's The Crazies, which offers an audio commentary by Romero and the featurette The Cult Film Legacy of Lynn Lowry. Troma is releasing Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. Poultrygeist.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's even better. Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, which, and that's the one movie I'll get out of all these. I will buy Poultrygeist. It's like many of the Troma releases, it includes a couple of commentaries and a ton of extra features. Then there's some horror films coming out, Sorority Row and Dead Snow, and the campy Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant. Did you see Dead Snow?
Yes.
I just saw it this weekend.
So I've seen most of it. I did not.
You got scared, didn't you?
It was good. It was good. I would have liked to have reviewed that.
And, for people, if Dead Snow's not enough for them, it's about zombie Nazis, which is enough for me to buy it. But
Bloody
then
Snow.
It's actually hugely entertaining.
Dead Snow.
And I got to ask, though, when you watch something like that, it's what, Finnish or some Icelandic language? Do you watch it subtitled? Do you watch it dubbed?
Subtitled.
See, I watch it dubbed.
And it kills the eyes.
Bad horror movies like that, I want them dubbed. I want it to look fake. I want the language to look fake. It's like watching Godzilla coming out of, the Japanese people when they run away. I just love the fact that it's badly dubbed and it's zombie Nazis.
Oh, the zombie Nazis running over the snow. It's just,
man.
It's excellent. If any of our listeners out there have a DVD they'd like to recommend us, if there's something they'd like us to talk about, definitely send us an email and let us know. We're at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And also let us know what you think. If you agree with our opinions or not, drop us a line.
Those paintings are quite accurate. Used to be the kind of patients we deal with here were shackled and left in their own filth. They were beaten, as if whipping them bloody would drive the psychosis out. We drove screws into their brains. We submerged them in icy water until they lost consciousness or even drowned.
And now?
We treat them, try to heal, try to cure. And if that fails, at least we provide them with a measure of comfort in their lives, calm.
These are all violent offenders, right? I mean, they've hurt people, murdered them in some cases.
In almost all cases, yes.
And personally, Doctor, I'd have to say screw their sense of calm.
We're back. You're listening to the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head, here with John Black.
Hi.
It's time now for our review of Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island.
Well, it's kind of like a confession I want to make about this first, is that I was scheduled to interview Dennis Lehane, who wrote the book the movie's based on. They gave me the book like 3 days before the screening. I read most of it and then went into the movie. And it not only reading most of the book and going to see a thrill like this kind of ruined the book and ruined the movie. I didn't like either one. I still haven't finished the book. I have no desire to do it.
How much time did you have to?
3 days. I know it's Dennis Lehane. It reads pretty fast, but I do have a life, so it was like reading on the subway and stuff like this. So, you know, I didn't like either one by the time it was done. You know, so I'm not going to finish the book. I wasn't impressed by the movie.
I thought you were going to like this movie.
I thought I was going to like this
your
movie.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's Scorcese. It's well, DiCaprio I don't care about, but it's Scorcese. It's, you know, a semi-horror movie thriller in a deserted mental institution. Sounded perfect for me.
Not too far.
If they added dead zombies, I'd be there. Nazi zombies.
I was going to say, fictionally not too far away from where we are right now. It's in the Boston Harbor Islands.
Was it actually filmed there?
No, they filmed it in Taunton. Taunton, and I don't know.
So what did you think? Did you like it? Did you dig it?
I did enjoy it, and I kept asking myself, why in the world did Paramount decide to, you know, did they think that this was less than, so they had to wait to release it in February?
Because it got bumped back.
Is there something wrong with this movie? I kept thinking, is there something wrong?
What are they hiding?
Does this not add up to, you know, prior entries in the Scorsese filmography? And I digged it. It's a disturbing film. I mean, I'm going to say right off the bat, there are prolonged shots of dead children in this movie. And
that's not really a spoiler. That's a warning.
That's a warning in the sense that it's disturbing. You're just like, oh my God. But
See,
no, I won't veer too far.
No, but
from
you
that,
saw
but
dead children. I saw, you know, mannequins and actors. I didn't.
Yeah, you know, obviously.
But no,
obviously,
because I wasn't wrapped up in the story.
Story-wise.
You're wrapped up enough in the story to go with it and see these images for what Scorsese wants them to be. I'm seeing them like they're extras on the
This
DVD.
is something that's being performed in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I couldn't get into it,
right.
Which is a shame. But anyway, did you like the acting? Were you impressed by the acting going on?
I was. I wouldn't say it's one of DiCaprio's better films, but I did enjoy this film more than his last, and I think it was the Russell Crowe one that he did. That was the Ben Affleck. What? It was the Ridley Scott thing. I can't think of it at the moment, but
yeah, that's how good it was.
I enjoyed the sort of comic booky graphic novel type of aspect of this. I mean, it was sort of fanciful in a way. There was a moment where I kind of got this flashback that it was going towards the Lovely Bones territory, and I was like, no, no, you know, because it just had these kind of like surreally goofy fantasy dream sequences that were also morbid and teetered toward, for a moment, you know, boring. But thankfully the movie didn't get into those dream sequences too far. You know,
well, we went off and running at the start. We should tell people what the movie's about. DiCaprio plays a U.S. Marshal named Teddy Daniels, and he and his partner go to Shutter Island to solve a mystery, a patient. And Shutter Island is a psychiatric hospital / prison for the criminally insane.
A very unique one.
Yeah. In what way? What would you say was unique about it?
In the sense that it's a high security prison for the most extreme, I guess you can say, killers.
Yeah,
there's
wackos.
Complete wackos who've in some way murdered somebody or groups of people.
Yeah, there's a funny line. It's like, you know, some of them killers. They're all killers.
Yeah.
And the way they've got it set up is like, oh, there's building A, that's the men. Building B, that's the women. Building C, you can't go in there.
That's the place you
so
don't
of course,
want to go.
you think they'll go in there? I wonder.
So it has some sort of special federal jurisdiction. That,
right. And so the thing is that
supersedes anything.
A woman has escaped. And, you know, they can't find her. They can't find her in the buildings. They can't find her on the island. And somehow the U.S. Marshals get involved to go solve the mystery of this missing woman.
Crazy lady, Rachel.
Yeah, who murdered her children.
Yeah. Just prior to someone at the facility being interrogated by DiCaprio, it's revealed that she drowned her 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
And then after she drowned her 3 children, she brought them back into the house, set them at the breakfast table, and had a meal with them. So,
that
particularly
makes you laugh,
disconcerting because that's what freaky stuff does sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes things.
It's a nervous laughter.
It's a nervous, yeah. And so DiCaprio, Teddy Daniels.
Yeah, Teddy Daniels.
Figures he can't figure out how this lady can get by security, the mounds of security and things that they have that monitor everybody's move in the hospital. So he goes through a series of interviews that become, I guess, a bit more discerning, and then he meets with Ben Kingsley,
who's the director of the facility.
Yeah, strangely a weird fellow in his own way, and then his only, I guess, point of stability in the movie is Mark Ruffalo, his buddy, his fellow marshal, who is stationed on the island with him. They were just supposed to be there for a certain amount of time, but things add up, and they can't get off the island when they wanted to.
Right, a hurricane comes by.
Yeah.
Conveniently.
You know what I'm wondering though is like, how far do we want to go?
Before the big reveal, should we tell people what happens?
Reveals,
no. I think that's good enough. They're stuck on the island trying to solve a mystery. But having read most of the book, and having a good idea from reading the book how it was going to end, and then going in to watch it, it was annoying to see how many distractions are put in your way to keep you from guessing what the end is. Illogical distractions, things that just happen, to make you look to the right or look to the left when you really should just be focusing straight ahead. Little tricks like that. And then here's something that really bugged me. The opening scene when they're taking the boat to the island.
I thought that was quite effective, and particularly so because of the music. It was sort of this pumping, swaying score. I was really digging it.
You thought it was quite effective?
It was.
I thought it was absolute crap. It looked like it looked fake. It looked so fake. It looked like bad rear projection. When they're standing on the boat after, the very opening, they're like sharing a cigarette or whatever.
It was sort of a hyper reality. I can see your point there.
But I didn't know if it's Scorcese paying tribute to the 50s movies that this would have been set in, 1950s.
It's a fanciful version of the 50s in a sense.
Setting the stage for the, questioning our reality from the start. I don't know, but I found myself thinking about that shot until 15 minutes into the movie. And I'm like, what did I miss? Because I've just been wondering, why is that shot so screwy looking? And there's another shot on the cliffs that just looks terrible. It looks so badly, like either bad rear projection or bad special effects or whatever.
I think I'm of the thinking that it's the very moment you think as a viewer that there's CGI on the screen, that's when they've failed.
Right.
That's when something went wrong, because all it takes is that split second of it's fake.
And that's what happened.
And there's these moments in the movies where you feel like they just couldn't do that shot in reality, and it's just, it just comes off as being, okay, it's not real.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're trying so hard to make it real that when you see something that looks fake, it just pulls me right out. The movie we're going to talk about later, District 13, is full of unrealistic shots. And I went with every one of them because it's just the hyper reality of the story needs that. I wanted that visual, visceral excitement in every shot. This one, I don't need to be distracted by the fact that, can't they afford to put Leo and Ruffalo on a boat and film them?
I feel like this just, from its inception, seemed like it was not going to be a showpiece Scorsese film. I mean, it's not. It's sort of something that like was done, there's a bit of workman's ethic going on here. Like, I hate to say it, but it seems like even Scorsese's got to work.
Yeah, this is the process. Movie,
is it? Yeah, it's sort of felt like a process thing. I mean, aesthetically, artistically, I think it's a beautiful film, and he certainly works in these. It has its Scorsese moments. Like I enjoyed how when they had a flashback, it would cut to the wake of the boat. Before it came back to the two shots of the character. I enjoyed the way the what was that section C?
Yeah.
And you finally get the opportunity to go in there and see some of the grungy nuttiness. I think the first thing I thought of was like, man, this is just medieval.
Yeah.
This is just completely medieval.
And who's the prisoner?
But it looked cool, and Jackie Earle Haley was terrific.
Yeah.
He was really. Man, what a resuscitated career. He's just a terrific actor. And they probably did something with his voice because of the I don't know. He really has all the little nuanceable things going down to make him seem like a real psycho. He's great at playing psycho. Mm-hmm. But in a way, what's more frightening in this scene is he's sort of a level-headed psycho. He's not. Right. He's not. You'd think he was babbling, but it sort of occurs at a point where DiCaprio's character is questioning his own reality, and this tidal wave of information about who or what he's involved in is slowly kind of coming down on him, which is kind of cool. But the movie takes a while to get there.
And on the other end of the spectrum is Max von Sydow, who was, you might remember, he was the priest in The Exorcist. He was the knight in
he's grown into his exorcist role.
Well, he's this this spooky psychiatrist, but they give him these Mr. Moto glasses. I don't know if people know what those are, but they're like big, round, thick, black glasses. Kind of look like he's got two raccoon eyes stuck to his eyes. And it's
like a Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, it looks stupid. I mean, is he supposed to be a threatening character, a mysterious character? Or
I'm sorry, I didn't mean Rocky and Bullwinkle. I meant the other. What was the guy with the time travel? Whatever. Moving on.
Right. I just
cartoon time travel guy.
Yeah, it was just one of these things that, again, it pulled me out because it was like a bad special effect on his face.
Yeah.
These glasses didn't belong there. So little things, little speed bumps along the way like that throughout the whole movie for me kept pulling me out of the story, and because of the way the movie ends, you really need the story to work for you when the big reveal happens. Because it's one of those things where it's kind of like when you see The Sixth Sense and the big reveal comes, and then you can go back and think of everything that happened along the way and realize, my God, it was set up perfectly for you to fall for this, that Bruce Willis never touches anyone or these other things that happen. In this one,
There is a reveal, but you can come away from this movie thinking it's whatever you decide you want it to be, in a way that like they're presenting you in actuality what they say is the reasoning for this, and this is who so and so is, and this is who so and so is, and it's kind of like, well, if you want to believe that, because you can go ahead and and consider the main characters who you originally thought they were, but then there's this really overwhelming opposing argument. So, one could look at it that way.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort, I think, for this movie to look at it that way. I just didn't, again, just kind of stared at it. Wasn't swept up into the action. Couldn't figure, when you talked about Scorcese moments, and, we've all watched a lot of his films, if I didn't know he'd done this, I wouldn't have picked it as a Scorsese movie.
And it was even sort of Hitchcockian, some of those scenes on the cliffs.
Yeah.
Some of the climbing that was sort of absurd. Like, does he really need to put himself through this ordeal?
Right.
You can reason that the character would do that, but still, I thought there's a particularly good scene between DiCaprio, Daniels, and Patricia Clarkson.
Right.
As, I don't want to reveal,
a mysterious person,
a mysterious
on the
woman.
She was the one actor, one performance that I thought was real in the whole thing. And of course, you're supposed to question whether it really happened or not. But to me, her performance was just like, oh, that's a real character. That's a person. It wasn't Leo. DiCaprio's performance, I thought, was all sweat and twitches. He acts like something's wrong with him from the beginning. And, okay, he's seasick on the boat. But
he has a recurring sickness of sorts.
Yeah. So
he keeps coming back. And, we haven't really discussed his partner, Mark Ruffalo, is sort of a, just kind of a fallback, a plain old FBI guy that is a confidant to Daniels,
right,
in the film. But he really is this sense of stability. DiCaprio's character looks to him to throw these crazy ideas off of, every now and then, and says, no, this can't be happening. This can't be happening.
Right, and they're not longtime partners. They're new partners as the story opens. His partner's been transferred from Seattle or Portland or something, from another office. So this is the first time they've worked together on a case. So, that's probably makes it easier for Daniels to talk the way he does to him.
Were they not both in service in World War II? or it was DiCaprio who?
They both were. They both talk about it, but DiCaprio was at the liberation of a prison. Dachau. Yeah. So
and he had seen some pretty horrific things.
Those are some pretty horrific scenes.
They are.
They didn't fit in the movie for me.
They were almost Lovely Bones type fanciful kind of stuff.
Right, the same kind of thing.
Horrific, great art direction, but it was like, it was artfully horrific, if it makes any sense.
We'll leave that up to the readers. They can write in an email and see if
horrifically artful. And then there was Michelle Williams, who I always enjoy seeing, in a film, and I just kind of had to convince myself that she was convincing with a Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Did that work for you?
She did some freaky stuff in this movie. I mean,
Everyone does freaky stuff, but for what reason? Those World War II scenes are freaky. They're horrifying.
They are.
But the tone is so wrong with the other scenes in the movie, and I didn't get any connection story-wise. I know literally why we're being shown them, but the emotional connection is not working for me. It's not like they just popped up suddenly and I'm like, whoa, what's this? I know why we're having these flashbacks, but I need to see. And I think part of it is that, to me, DiCaprio was so one note through the whole thing.
You didn't care about him.
No, I just wanted to get over with quick. And it takes, what, 2 hours? 2 hours plus? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long movie. It's a long movie. Did you enjoy the book?
No, and I'll admit, I still haven't finished it. Why should I? But along with the paperback of the Dennis Lehane book, I was given, you mentioned the graphic novel aspect of the
it has a sort of heightened reality. It looks like a painting in a way. It looks
there is a graphic
more colorful
novel
than real life
of the movie. There's a tie-in graphic novel that is so boring. It's painted. It's like watercolors, not watercolors, like oil paintings. It's not drawn like a normal comic book, but it's almost like a sketchbook in these dark greens and beiges, and it's just dull. And the dialogue is crap. It's just such an awful tie-in. Again, it's another aspect of this story that I'm not buying. It's nice to have.
You really needed that emotional connection, and I also want to admit, I can be sometimes when I say I really enjoy a movie, I can be taken in by the production aesthetics. I mean, it was beautifully photographed. I love Robert Richardson's stuff. He just has provided so many beautiful images for films, particularly Snow Falling on Cedars. Not a great film, but I can be entranced by that kind of thing. And there's elements of this all the way through Shutter Island. It's a beautiful movie. It's dreary and rainy and atmospheric, but if it doesn't connect in the way that you needed it to, I can totally see that.
Yeah,
I can totally see it not working. I think it just has these particular scenes that work. The one with Jackie Earle Haley, the one with Patricia Clarkson, the one with the sort of Nazi fellow that runs, that is the chief guard for Section C. It has kind of an unsettling Jeep ride with DiCaprio.
Yeah.
It was amusing. Definitely not going to be up there with Scorsese's Casino and his other films, but it's something.
So you'd pay to go see it?
I would have, but having seen it, I think I would recommend that people shell out for the matinee.
Yeah.
They may not.
I think it's, because it's Scorsese, whether it works for you or not, I think there's enough happening up on the screen to make it so much better than most of the crap that's in theaters.
Yeah, it is.
But
in a sense, yeah.
Because it's Scorsese, I think we also hold it to a different level of scrutiny. Yeah, matinee would be fine.
Moving on to District 13 Ultimatum. I wanted to say District B13, but I think the original was District B13. You know what? This is another film where I'm like, you know, I can watch this movie, I can watch District 13 and without subtitles, and I can still get what they're talking about. But I didn't speak French for the life of me. There's no way. You know, ask me to repeat any of it, forget it.
Right.
You know, District 13 Ultimatum. This is, you know, From Paris with Love was actually the latest from the Jean. I'm sorry, I was going to say Godard, but
wow,
there's a big difference between Godard and Besson. Huge. Anyway, but this is not the latest from, I guess in terms of release dates, but I mean, this came out last year in France. The latest from the Besson machine is From Paris with Love. It's a fun film.
Right, right.
But it's not a smart film by any stretch of the imagination. Good Lord. It's just a, you know, the action mechanics.
Yeah, it's a visual roller coaster ride for 90 minutes or however long it is. You know, even the opening scene, I was watching the camera and, you know, it's just, there's no way they could physically do these camera moves without a computer. It's just the way it races around the town, down alleys, up streets. And I was just like, woohoo, let's go. It would stop every couple of minutes for someone to get the crap kicked out of them. And then zoom, it would go off again. And, you know, it was just such a ridiculous ride that when it actually stops and tries to tell a story, you're like, what? I don't care. And they're speaking French.
Maybe,
So
I guess they assumed that you wouldn't care because the story is so just barely anything to hang a shirt on.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the original film.
5 years ago. Can you believe it? 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
6, yeah. But basically, a section of Paris, District 13, has been walled off by the city, and it's kind of like Escape from New York, but in Paris. They put all their bad eggs in that one nest. And, of course, they form gangs and have guns and, you know, live a much cooler life than anyone has outside of Paris is, you know, hot chicks and racing cars and guns. But, you know, the thing that was...
Drug trafficking.
Yeah, and drug trafficking.
Explosives, bombs.
Yeah. And guys who can jump over everything.
And the ability to jump in so many ways through anything.
Which is funny because the guy like, ooh, look, a mail slot in the door. I can do that. And he runs through and jumps through it. Yeah. And the thing that's cheesy, but it was making me laugh is that it's like when they've decided they've done a stunt that's so cool, they show it again immediately.
Yeah.
You know, like some guy falls from a ledge and hits his legs on the way down and it smashes his head and falls down. And then they show it again immediately because it's just so cool. Has nothing to do with story, you know. And they do that. They did it in the first one. They do it. It's like, oh.
Well, you know, there was nothing beats that opening scene in District 13, the original. Man, that was insane, and I loved it with the soundtrack. You know, the driving soundtrack, which is not the same in this film. There's like there's an Indian influence to it that kind of makes it a little more exotic instead of more aggressive, which sort of took something away from what was cool about the original. Was the change in the music. But you're right about the replaying on the action scenes.
Yeah.
It's got comparable action. I mean, it's really good. The guys' names again, they're Cyril Raffaelli and David Bell. And they both
actors, right?
No, they're stuntmen. I think they're basically stuntmen who became actors, I think.
Right.
You know, they do stunt coordinators, stuff like that. I know Cyril Raffaelli, he was... I think he was a stunt coordinator on the Die Hard flick, but he also had a minor role in it. You know, as the French guy that he was shooting in the many metallic hallways that they shoot around in Die Hard. But I can't forget Bruce Willis's comment about him. Oh, the guy's like a fucking gerbil, you know, jumping in and out of things. But it is, you know, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. And we said this before. Besson, no matter who he chooses as director, I think he's going to come out with a particular type of Besson film his way, and he's so good at doing these action set pieces like they did in The Transporter. And then I haven't seen the French Taxi movies, but you know, he's basically taken what he's done there and honed it here for the District 13 Ultimatum. Just
where story does not matter
at the action.
You know, I was laughing. There's one of the opening fight scenes is
in his apartment?
No, the one that's in the bar.
Flipping it?
No, the one where he's in the bar and he's trapped all the drug dealers by he poses as a stripper. Which guy's that? The bald-headed guy?
Yeah, the bald guy poses as a stripper. Now that was an interesting scene.
I pray they used a stunt butt in those scenes, because before he pulled the wig off, I was like, "Ooh, that's nice."
I think,
and then it turns out to be this French stuntman. Okay, it's French. I get a
But he kept having to pull it off for the other guys that he lure into that particular. I don't know if we're setting this story up very well.
There is no story. It doesn't matter in this one. I know usually we just start talking and
Well, I will say this in terms of just setting it up dramatically. The government in this story is planning to just blow up District 13. They're planning to just get rid of what they thought they could put what they thought was human wreckage in there. But now they're just thinking, okay, we don't have the funding, whatever. We're just to take care of the place. We're going to get rid of it. So we're going to set off a major bomb. And at some point,
wait, wasn't that the first one?
Somebody, it had a
same for a second.
Same thing. You've got a bomb with a timer on it.
The city wants to get rid of the bad influence, and bad influence turns heroic. And
so each of the major, they basically, the two guys, they inform the gang leaders in District 13 that this is going down. So the head of each gang, there's the Middle Eastern gang, the Indian gang, the
Chinese gang,
the gang that's headed by the woman with the knives in her hair, which was kind of cool. Flipping that around, that was good. Action scene. So they all get together to, stop the inevitable destruction of each of the main housing projects in the thing. So that's the deal. They got to stop the place from blowing up.
And
they got to get to the French president.
That's enough. Because the only dull parts in this is when they stop fighting and talk. Because they're not the dialogue's crap. It's not like they even have anything witty to say. Even in French, it's crap. They're probably saying worse things in French. It's the poor guy who had to translate was like, oh, what am I going to have him say here? But like the scene I thought was hilarious was, again, they're in the drug dealer's den. He's cleverly trapped all the bad guys, but then thing falls apart. Other guys rush in, and he's holding is it a Rembrandt or a Van Gogh? He's holding a Van Gogh. Mm-hmm. It's the only real piece of art in this drug den, and he proceeds to beat the shit out of like 30 guys with the Van Gogh. He's just like, and it's like classic Jackie Chan when he would see a ladder and do 10 minutes of stunt work with a ladder or a broomstick or something. Except this guy's got a 600 million euro Van Gogh.
I guess if a comparison could be made, these guys are doing what Jackie Chan did. I mean, this is the cutting edge of this kind of action. I think.
Oh, definitely.
And they are.
No one's going to argue that stuff like Project A or Double Dragon or any of these other Jackie Chan movies you don't remember them for their stories. They're all pretty basic ideas, and this is basically a little tweak on the first idea.
I think you remember them for obviously the fights, but those falls he took.
Right.
You remember the holy shit, he actually
real
landed that way.
Yeah,
and I think there's a few things that happen to some of the guys here, not the main guys, but the cronies that chase him take a serious beating. And they have the sort of stairwell type of sequence again that they did in the first one, and then they used that gimmick again in From Paris with Love. It's not just falling down the staircase; it's falling down, the circular Paris staircase and hitting every railing on the way down.
That's the only drawback I had with this movie is that when the first one came out 5 or 6 years ago, it all seemed so new. This kind of running around and jumping in, whatever they call that, combat or that running technique. Parkour. It was all new. It was fresh. It was fun. Anything they did was exciting. And then it's like, okay, Casino Royale, James Bond did it. Yeah. And then it's on that Ninja Warrior show and all these other, now it's like part of the culture.
Once it gets lampooned in The Office as one of their cold opens,
that's it.
The funny part is because it's passé, because it's like Mambo number 5. It's like kind of been there. It's painful. I don't want to re-experience it again. Mm-hmm. But when you get lampooned on The Office for it, that it's seen its day in a way.
They try to, they add a few things. The girl with the razors in her hair is a new twist. Yeah, literally. So that's good. And the guys they are the originals. They're the best at doing this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you're like, okay. So it's like when you see the mail slot and the guy looks, he's going to jump through it. And the first one,
or the little window at the top of the door.
Yeah, the first one, he'd look at the window and you'd be going, no fucking way, and he'd do it, and you'd be like, yes. And now he looks at the mail slot and you're going,
or just
the mail slot,
crack the passenger side window down and he'll slide in.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's a crack in the sidewalk. He disappeared. He can do anything. And it was so cool the first time. And now he's just like, I found myself looking at the scene and going, okay, he's going to bounce a guy off that, and they do.
I would totally see it again. I would. Yeah. Oh, you know, just for the orchestration of these things.
I saw it on demand.
It's art.
On
action
on
art.
Cable, and I want to see it in a theater.
Yeah.
You know, just to get that visual sensory overload of watching all this stuff happen in front of me on a big screen rather than, eating a sandwich and watching it on my TV. It's not the same.
It is what it is, man. It's like mindless, but mindless cool. They got to know it.
That's the headline. Mindless cool. So I would definitely pay $10 to see this again.
I think I would. In fact, I like recommending this movie to friends because I know that they dig this kind of action and would be like, oh man, that was cool. That was cool. There's a number of scenes in this movie that are like, damn, that was cool.
I would recommend, to me, this is the kind of film you recommend to people who say they don't like French movies. Yeah, go see this. I don't like French movies, and I saw this.
The French are, they've studied action films. They've studied horror films. They've taken I think they've perfected what we Americans have done in terms of the horror genre and the action genre, and they take it and in some ways they can make it. They do a really good job, of learning from our stuff, our mistakes, and our triumphs.
It was more exciting to watch than the past 10 American action movies I've seen.
In a way, these District 13 movies, they have like the typical standard American, setup of these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, these are why they're good, these are why they're bad, and all the little 24 elements of clocks and bombs and whatever going down. But they've got it and it works.
I love the European flair that these are the good guys. Oh yeah, they're from Middle East, they're Muslims, they're Africans, they're French. Each one, it's like Benetton ad. They've all got to join together to beat the French. So it has that European flair, style, and stuff. Yeah, it was just a hell of a ride.
I'd watch it again just to see her with the knives in her hair, swinging her head around, trying to, who's stupid enough to walk into that?
This is when I wish we were on film. Because you are swinging your head around like there were knives in it, and no one but we get to see that. So that's a visual. In fact, maybe we can tape that someday. We'll put that on the website. See Steve swing razors in his hair.
My hair flipping around. So I think that wraps it up for this show. We reviewed Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island and Luc Besson's District B13 Ultimatum. Although he didn't direct it, he produced it. But it's a Besson film nonetheless. As always, if you agree with us or disagree with us or have a comment about the show, we'd like to hear from you. So send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to visit the website at postmovie.wordpress.com. And always thanks to Paul Leisen, our producer, recordist, for his invaluable work in setting up and recording the show. Without Paul, there would be no Post Movie Podcast. Absolutely. For the Post Movie Podcast, I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black from Boston Event Guide.
Thanks for listening. Digression. DVD digression.
Just wanted to tell you, he wrote the Shrinking Man, which the Incredible Shrinking
Really?
Man, yeah.
I love that movie.
They made 3 versions.
Wait, from the 30s he wrote? No, the one with Danny Kaye.
No,
Danny Kaye?
Incredible Shrinking Man.
Oh.
This is some nobody. I remember that movie, though. There were 3 versions made.
He killed the spider with a pin.
Yeah, he had to run away from the cat in the dollhouse. He went down the drain in the end.
Wasn't he clinging on the pencil? Did he actually go down the drain?
I remember we took a tour of Universal Studios and they still had those props.
Oh, I bet. They're cool.
Beardless Warriors? I have no idea what that was. Hell House. He wrote Hell House.
Oh, okay. Beardless Warrior sounds like a lesbian.
Remember, there was something on TV. I thought it was a Twilight Zone thing. Oh, yeah, it was no, it wasn't. Called the Trilogy of Terror, something like that.
With Karen Black and the little voodoo doll?
Trilogy of Terror. Didn't that?
Have you seen that?
I recently heard. You know what? It has now been made available on demand. I saw it. I saw it on the on demand list. So you
Boy,
can get
I bet
on
it
demand
hasn't
for like
aged
$3.
well. But that little
62,
voodoo doll attacking Karen Black was
1962.
terrifying.
And Vincent Price is in there somewhere.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I was like, I'm going to pay $3 for a movie from 1962 on demand.
They've got
I
What
mean,
Dreams May Come
yeah.
on here. Is that the Robin Williams movie?
What
I
Dreams
don't know.
May Come.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
Yeah, he went back. He
That
went
was
through
1978,
death.
I think. Oh, he wrote it in '78. It was a movie.
What Dreams May Come.
Yeah, so that's Robin Williams.
That was the.
His girlfriend dies and he goes back to.
Annabelle Sciorra was in it.
Yeah, I liked that movie and I got such shit for liking it.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I thought
it was a heartbreaker.
It was way cool too. I mean, they really stepped
They
out
stood in
as
the
far as
paint
that.
and like the scenery. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's coming back to me now.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't.
Sorry,
the idea of the movie's coming. I have not seen it. Believe
Wow,
it or
this
not,
guy's
so.
been around.